Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Arise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. Allah is the author, creator, the governor of the worlds, the almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. All praises are due to Allah. Islam. I extend the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam. Extending high honors to our flag, Moorish flag. Red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. I extend honors to our American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you the Moors with compound interest. Islam? This is also the flag of our birth. Islam Moors? Extending honors to Noble Sheikh staff, Noble Vanguard staff for keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the Hills and Bays, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam? How's everyone on the holy night? I extend high honors to the children in the room. Praise Allah. Islam? I extend high honors to that beautiful turban you have on there, young lady. Praise Allah. You wear it, sister. You wearing that. I just want to let you know you're wearing that. And if nobody has bowed to you today, while you're wearing that turban, let me be the first one. Islam? Praise Allah, praise Allah. Well, if you can pause on that real quick. All right. So, with that out the way, to move forward. Islam Moors? At a certain point in my measure, I want to borrow about 10 minutes from the time of my demonstration to play 2 videos. They're short. One is like maybe 8 minutes, the other is like 2 minutes. Okay, but I want to draw from Moorish literature to start. Okay, 1 paragraph. We're not gonna keep the Moors long tonight. I gotta stop keeping the babies out all night on the holy day. That's what these babies gotta rest. I give honors to our youngest member, Sister Jalila Nia Ashe Bey. You know, our youngest member, card-carrying Moorish American Muslim. Our elder, because if you ever looked in them eyes, that ain't no child. Praise Allah. Islam. All right. So we're going to draw from the article entitled A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. Islam. All right. We're going to go down to the paragraph where the Prophet is stating, where it says, I love my people. Let me hear Islam when you're there. Again, a divine warning by the Prophet for the nations. And go down to the article, the paragraph, which should be about the 3rd paragraph, that states, I love my people. Let me hear Islam when you're there. Islam. Praise Allah. Our holy and divine prophet, our illustrious angel, tells us, he says, I love my people and I desire their unity. It's supposed to be, and my, let's see, pardon self, I have a typo on mine. Somebody read that first sentence for me.
I love my people and
go ahead.
I desire their unity and mind to their own free national divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional.
Islam. I'll pick it up from there. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. Islam? Why does the Prophet say? Because to be a citizen of any government, there's a lot of governments on earth, aren't there? To be a citizen of any government, you must proclaim your national descent, right? Which in modern terminology is your ethnicity. Why must you proclaim that in order to be a lawful citizen of that government? Why is he saying that? Anybody know? Islam, nobody?
Oh, no, I just want to make sure I follow you.
Okay.
Page 14 in the literature.
Okay, let's go. Page 6.
Oh, page 6.
Are you there? You sure? Okay. And I'm down at this section that says, Because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name because they placed their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. I'm reading a different compilation of said, right? And these were Moorish God articles. But the reason why the prophet is saying that to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because when you look at the history of the forming of the United States Constitution, all subsequent nations that were formed after 1789 changed their constitutions to match ours. Islam. So if you look at when did Ghana become a nation?
1913, right?
Later.
1950.
Say again?
It was in the 1950s.
The 50s. So, same around okay, let's do this. When did Morocco become the Kingdom of Morocco?
1957.
56, 57. You're right, 56, 57. Because 57 was the transition of power, right? But, and at that point, you started noticing they went from monarchy, or absolute monarchy, to constitutional monarchy. Islam, with a constitutional checks and balances in their power, which was influenced by the United States of America Constitution. Islam, because before that, the Sultan, because it went from Sultan to King, but the Sultan had absolute say. What he said went. There was no control over his power. You see what I'm saying? But, trying to match, the dynamics of the U.S. Constitution, people started making, slight tweaks to their government systems. And when you research a lot of African governments, you're starting to realize that, these you have African governments that are, I think Rwanda was like 1993. This stuff is recent. Like these, you know what I'm saying? And they're still trying to make changes to adapt. Why? Because it's a new era of time now. See what I'm saying? So the power has to go back into the hands of the people. Now, governments have to empower people, their people. Islam, no more can you lord over. That's not even the era of time that we're in to do that. Islam, all right? So, Islam.
Islam question. Part self to
No, add on. Don't scream.
I saw a demonstration. I think it is Ghana where there were some Europeans that had land and they were pulling. The government was taking back the land. I'm not asking. They were taking back the land and giving it to the citizens.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to make sure that I was still in alliance with what you're saying as far as government-wise.
No doubt. Well, see, what happened, that's exactly in tune with that. Like, because a lot of times what you'll find is that the land that they give away, they're not giving the land away, the land is leased. When the lease is up, they take the land back and give it back to the lawful citizens. You see what I'm saying? So that's the predicament our people find ourselves in when we, expatriate and repatriate or do dual citizenship in countries like Ghana. So you're not a first-class citizen there, right? You're pretty much second class. You know that to be true because when you take out dual citizenship in Ghana, you can't vote. I know a brother's been living in Ghana. You bear me witness, Mo? I know a brother's been living in Ghana since he moved over there. This is like late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. And I asked him, he was like, yeah, we can't. They're trying to reform it. But the citizens are like, nah, we're not feeling that. Because we're from, they get first dibs on rights because that's their land, Lord. Now we can go imperially, right? And, say, yeah, Moorish Americans, descendants of ancient Moabites, who inhabited the northwest and southwestern shores of Africa. But we're talking about in the modern day and contemporary times, right? When they establish a nation for themselves, based on that construct, we are not a part of that. Islam? No, so Allah placed your feet here. You got work to do here. Not saying you can't do business in other lands, right? You can, but you have first dibs here because you were born here. Islam, more?
Islam, quite itself for not standing, but
No, you got your hands full, more.
I rise giving all praise to Father God Allah and I shabbat to the Prophet of Israel.
Islam, more, you recognize?
Because my wife is versed in the Japanese language, culture, etc.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. Recently, just to speak to that context, a friend of hers who's Asiatic, brother, who's from the United States, went to Japan like some years ago. Fell in love with a young lady there, Japanese citizen, etc. They had, they had a child together.
Praise Allah.
Unfortunately, the young lady decided she wanted to pursue her acting career, and in their laws, there, a woman has there's a certain amount of rights that a woman has. It's like a bit more than the man or whatever. So she gave up custody to pursue what she wanted to do. To say, okay, I don't want any more custody over my daughter.
Oh wow.
Okay, so but so unfortunately for that, even though he married, actually I don't even think he was even married either. But even even though they had a daughter together, he basically has like X amount of time because of his status and not being married to this other individual that's a citizen, or whatever. So he actually has to leave Japan.
Right.
And the thing is with Japan, if you're not Japanese, you'll never get citizenship
At all.
Like you'll never get and that's just
The immigration laws.
So so it's like one thing where it's like Japan that actually speaks to the ethnic group or to the ethnic groups there. Japan is consisted of Japanese.
Absolutely.
But there's no such thing as Americanese.
No.
Because of the construct or because of how this country was created, this and that or whatever. So it's very important to understand your nationality and what comes with that. That like if you can wed, who you want to in that society, this and that or whatever. But that still in itself will never give you the rights that someone who has a pedigree from that
Exactly.
ever will. So.
Islam. And, the United States of America is one of the only nations where you demonstrating dual flags. Islam. If you're in Germany, it's one flag. You German. Islamors? Islamors. If you're in Japan, you Japanese. If you're Moroccan. Islam. But America, because we allow, our forefathers allowed it to be an immigrant nation. Come take, we took everybody's poor in, everybody's whatever, and then, but based on that, we also took, some of the greatest masterminds from all over the earth and brought them here, and we built something here to the point where people wanted to emulate the benefits of it, but didn't want to inherit the problems of it. You see, because there's problems in that, especially relative from a European perspective, right? Because when you do that, you're opening the door for amalgamation, which doesn't work out too good for the European gene pool. There's a European name, he's a former Senator Buchanan. He wrote a book entitled, years ago, in the late 90s, entitled The Death of the West, right? When he was warning Europeans back then to tighten up the borders, right? And stop, allowing, Asiatics from Africa and our Mexican brothers and sisters to come in, because what's happening, the amalgamation is going on and it's wiping their bloodline. He was telling them that, it's wiping the bloodline out, so we got to stop. He was saying to them, we have to stop this. Islamors, all right? So, relative to that side of this, there's certain problems, and then you get identity crisis too. Because when you live amongst other groups of people, if you don't have a community built, you can't reinforce your cultural norms, right? So part of the amalgamation is, picking up other people's ideals and worshiping their gods, which gods are ideals. Islamors, all right? So while it's still, a couple minutes before 10 o'clock, I just want to play this for y'all real quick. This, you could type it on YouTube, or you could type it up under, the title is, Let's Talk About What It's Like to Be a Black Person in the U.S. And it's by what looks to be what they call a redneck prophet, told us to call them Southerners. But it's by a Southerner, right, with a red beard, and but he tells you in there that his nationality, his ethnicity is Irish, right? But let's go through this real quick. Brother Raphael, are you hooked up to the speaker? Okay, can you unhook? Because I kind of want the volume for this. It's called Let's Talk About What It's Like to Be a Black Person in the U.S. I thought it was an interesting title. I watched it, I couldn't believe what it was demonstrating. Islam? You're going to see right now that anything, things relative to race, ethnicity, and nationality, hot button topics right now. It's all over the place. All right? We good, Mo? Speaker on? Okay.
Howdy there, internet people. It's Bo again. So that Nike video, that went a little bit wider than I expected. A lot of people saw it that I didn't count on. That was supposed to be a joke for you guys that normally watch this. I didn't count on the extra couple 100,000 people seeing it, but I'm glad they did. Because, they don't know the way I talk. They don't know that I tend to switch what I'm talking about in the middle of a video. So a lot of them saw the first few seconds, took off to the comment section, and started insulting me. And it's all okay. It was all worth it. Because one guy in his insults got me thinking. And I had time to think about it because I was coming back from town. That's like a 40-minute drive. The insult was that my IQ was 2 points higher than a plant, and that I needed to, or asked if I could open my hick mind and understand what it was like to be a black person in the United States. No, I can't. Neither can you. Neither can you. I know right now there's some white ally out there learning the terminology that say, no, I understand. No, you don't. You may get the statistics. You may understand the numbers. You may get that there's a huge disparity in the criminal justice system, and because of that, it translates into more unjust violence being visited upon them. You may get that. You may understand that there's a huge income equality gap. You may get that translates into a lower standard of living, lower health care. You may understand all of that. Doesn't mean you understand what it's like to be black in the U.S. It means you get the numbers. Maybe you understand a little bit of the history. But see, it's way deeper than that, because when we think about slavery, we think about the physical costs of slavery, and they're horrible, no doubt. But I think today, what's more relevant is something else. Where are you from? Not in the U.S. Where are you people from? Odds are, if you're white, Ireland, Scotland, England, Germany, Italy, Greece, France. Where are you from? And based on your answer, I can tell you all kind of things about you. I can tell you whether your gravy is red, brown, or white. I can tell you what kind of booze you probably drink. Tell you what kind of food you eat. Tell you what cuss words you use. Translates into a lot of things. The values you instill in your kids, the jokes you tell, the biases you have. My kid's 4 years old.
Check this out.
One of them. He's 4 years old. If I look at him and I say, ooh, ah, he's going to go up the rah. Now, if you're Irish, you just laughed.
Now, y'all don't know what that means, right? But Irish know what that means. Islam?
If you're English, you probably got a little mad, because that's part of your cultural identity. If you're not either one of those, you have no idea what that means. 4 years old. Kid doesn't know where Ireland is. Couldn't point to it on a map. But it's already starting to get ingrained in him. He's already being able to take pride in that cultural identity. Why don't we have Bantu pride? Congolese pride.
Congolese. So now what is he talking about? National descent. Islam? Okay.
See, the sociologists, they like to point to black pride and say, oh, well, it's a healing endeavor. So, black people can get together and they can join in that struggle. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. That's a whitewash of the reality. The reality is that slavery ripped that from them. They have black pride because they don't know.
They have black pride because they don't know. Listen, pay attention.
It wasn't in the slave owner's interest to keep track of the cultural heritage of his property. So that cultural identity that shapes you, it does. Think about it. Think about how much of what you are as a person is linked to your heritage like that. Stripped away, gone, and it got replaced. It got replaced. Down here in the South, especially out in the country, you go into a black kitchen, somebody is going to know how to cook hog jows and chitlins. Pig's feet. Down here, that scene is black cuisine. That didn't come from Africa. Not the way pasta or shepherd's pie came with us. That came from the plantations. That's what the slave owner threw away and let them eat. They endured that for so long, it became part of their culture. They endured it for so long, they got good at it. Found a way to make it flavorful. No, I can't understand what it's like to be black in the U.S. I can't understand what it's like to have my cultural identity stripped away and replaced with the knowledge that when my granddad was a kid, people didn't think he was human.
Islam, or y'all listening?
What seems my cuisine is because we got good at cooking trash.
That's them chitlins, and we became proficient, adepts at cooking trash. Listen.
that's going to affect a people, a collective people, on a very deep level. You know, when you say get over it, we're a long way away from that. We're a long way from getting over slavery. Yeah, the physical scars, they've healed. They have. Cultural ones are still there because it's gone. It was stripped away. Just vanished in the air. And I really want you to think about how much of who you are as a person comes from the old country. And then imagine what it would be like if you didn't have that. And if what it was replaced with wasn't love of the red, white, and blue. Because the red, white, and blue didn't love you. It wasn't that long ago, guys. There are people alive today that dealt with some pretty horrible stuff. And it's getting better. But it's not solved. That problem's ongoing, and it's going to stay ongoing for a while. You know, I've seen people say that they're not African American, that they're just American. I love it. Good for you. I cannot wait until the day comes when all of us just leave those national identities behind and we're just people. But that's a long way off. And until then, we're going to have to address our history. And while we may find it uncomfortable to address our history because we don't like it, we don't like the things that our people did, understand there's some people that don't know theirs. They don't have that source of pride to reach back to. I actually think that's why that Black Panther movie did so well. Because it's just like, you know, just like every European ethnicity has that origin myth, you know. It gave them that. So, it's just a thought. It's something to think about when you have convinced yourself as a white person that you truly understand what it's like. Take a step back. It goes a lot further than to have a talk with your kids about how to deal with cops. Your entire cultural identity was ripped away. Anyway, y'all have a nice night. Thanks for the insult, because it gave me something to think about.
Islam Morris? Thoughts?
Islam made manifest.
Islam Morris, recognize.
He said something that I keep turning over in my head was when he mentioned that he can't wait for the day for us to relinquish the national identity. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, well, that makes us who we are. Mm-hmm. That was, I think he might have had, coming from a different, I guess, context or point of view, mm-hmm. I think that might have been just a caveat, but outside of that, I agree with literally everything else he said. Mm-hmm.
And it's not strange, our prophet taught us about these days where you'd have Europeans that would be bearing witness to these things, relative to the stripping of national identities and we all just be American. That's the point we're referencing, talking about other nations, how they're just identified by one flag and one pedigree. However, what altered, this experiment here was, back to your point, you talked about originally being life, liberty, and property versus life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the original drafts, Declaration of Independence as well as Constitution had a lot of references in it to slavery and our condition, right? But because they wanted the document to be utilized for future generations, and they knew that they weren't always going to have, be involved in the slave trade. They were very careful, and as well as the relations between North and South. They were very careful of the language, because anything in law, anything in government, this, especially with them contracts, everything is language. Yeah. It's a specific language. One word being off can throw off the complexion of the entire contract, right? The Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, Articles of Confederation, their contracts, their covenants. You see these words, sounds like religious terminology, but it's used in law, right? And all law is specific, right? Law can't be ambiguous, right? Because if something's ambiguous and not clear, it could almost void, the essence of the contract, because both parties are not privy to every detail. Let me say this really quick. So, life, liberty, and property. Property, we're thinking in our modern, my cell phone is my property, right? Not thinking in that damn time, human beings were property. They said that among these are certain inalienable rights, so that among them are life, liberty. Now imagine if that was property, right? Remember later, if you read Constitution, it says that 1808, they would forbid the importation of slaves. Meaning that they were working to get out of that industry, because from the very inception of slavery in this country, they referred to it as what they call the peculiar institution. Meaning they knew it was inherently flawed, right? Binding human beings against their will is flawed, period. Why? Because we did it to them, and they remembered they didn't like it. So they knew, like, look, we're involved in this thing, but we're gonna have to get up out of this in order to speak to and live the high moral truths that are espoused in the Constitution. Islam? That's to answer the question from earlier. But I want to hear more, what you all think on that video. Anyone else? Brother Jalil, Islam.
What grabbed my attention was, the part where he was speaking about his 4-year-old son. And
yes.
There's certain terminology as an Irishman. Being from the South myself, and my former name being an Irish, mother's being an Irish name. I'm very familiar. Members of my family, from Alabama, and we come from the mother's plantation island. It just goes to show that that culture is really everything.
It is.
And it's how you are identified. And when I heard the individual speak, it sort of, what came on my was a bit of hypocrisy, because he's saying he's hoping that there's a day that we won't have to have any national descent, but yet he's still teaching it. He's still enforcing it. So that I lost my train of thought.
But what it is, he realizes he's stuck. Because he has to, no matter morally what he feels, he has to continue teaching, especially in this land, with all the different ethnic groups. And what the cultural groups, whether they got together and did it or just brought the mentality from their old country, their solution was, we'll create small versions of our old country here. We call that Chinatown. Anybody ever been to Chinatown in New York? I've never been to China, but I can imagine, like, it smells that don't smell like the rest of Manhattan. Like, this got to be baby China. Like, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? The one in Philly, I know for sure. They got unidentified animals hanging in the window, and it's, It's like, okay, this is their own get down. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing. You go to, like, it's a beautiful highway, the Korean side, the Mexican side. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I said, they circulate the dollar so much in their community, they put the signs in their language, meaning they don't need your money. Anybody in here read Korean? Since Jasmine, if I was saying Japanese, that'd be different. She'd be the exception to the rule, brother's wife. But the Mexican brothers, it's all the signs are in Spanish. You understand what I'm saying? So, their infrastructure is that tight where they don't rely on outsiders. That's Islam. So again, nationality is and always will be in America the order of the day. And relative, to around the world, everybody's picking up bits and pieces to remind everybody around the world is looking at the Negro problem. Nobody wants to go through that. Islam? So everybody around the world is trying to preserve their culture. Islam? I'll take one more.
What stood out was, one of the things that stood out was when he said that's probably why the Black Panther movie did so well. And it outdid, I know for a fact, I forgot the lead character's name. But
Chadwick Boseman.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you, Ma.
Was paid way less than Iron Man, than Thor, than ETC, the other Marvel lead character. But yet, this movie outdid all of those movies, even Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. But it just alludes back to the thought that when he said originally, the wounds are healed. It is
Physical.
The physical wounds are healed. It is a psychological problem, ideology, European psychology,
Islam.
thought
Islam.
that is plagued our nation and our culture of a people.
Islam. Brother Jabbar,
Asiatic. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude, more. Brother Jabbar.
I just wanted to add one question real quick. What I thought that was a very profound clip to just come out of what he was saying, came out of an insult, for him to analyze it to that degree. And what resonates in me even more strong is I thought if my 17-year-old self was listening to that, because right now, like, that train of thought is not strange to me. I think it's profound that a European could break it down that simple. And, like, literally simply lay that out. You know, I mean, I was on the train of thought of wanting to better myself. But, like, I wasn't around anything that gives me that's cultivating the mindset that I've now come into after coming into the MST of A and really analyze the plight of Asiatics here in North America and understand these steps right here will lead to our own salvation.
Absolutely.
And what I thought was very profound in that was he was able to turn around and analyze it that quickly, like the general synopsis of the problem, of the Negro problem.
Right. In 8 minutes.
I doubt the brother who asked him that question
even thought. Right.
Like,
but see, the backstory, I didn't mean cut your wisdom. The backstory is we don't know how long he contemplated his friend when the insult happened. He might have sat for 6 months, Mo. He might have just reflecting like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? And then did the 8-minute video and was able to get his bullet points out. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, the point is that, you know, you have to challenge people to think higher. You know what I mean? I think that was a case, you know, what they call it, you know, a crisis of conscience. I think somebody, you know, attacked his sensibilities and he realized he couldn't relate. You know, like you said, even with all the statistics, all of this and whatever, but still with all that, why do they act like that? Why haven't they figured out what the prophet said, be yourself and no one else? You have something about this?
I just want to add.
Please do.
It breaks my heart.
Yeah, I saw your face on.
It was just hard to listen to that.
Yeah.
I get teary-eyed.
Yeah.
But the black movement he talked about, and I thought about all the black movement.
That's sad.
Here.
That's sad.
And how they look at it, you know, and it's just, what are we doing?
Yeah. Real quick, if I can come back on your thought. Anybody see everybody's mad at John Wayne? Y'all seen this? John Wayne made a statement, and I have to paraphrase, but he basically said years ago, it was an interview he did with a certain magazine. I'm not going to name the magazine, the young people in the room, with a certain magazine. And in the interview, he said that, I will continue to believe in white supremacy until the blacks are able to govern themselves. Something like that. You know, and it's to the point of, you know, our people are looked upon as children. You know what I mean? You know, even the usage of, respectfully, the usage of the term minority, right? Root word being minor, right? You see what I'm saying? You know, so it's like, you know, with a minor, you know, okay, example, your daughter gets a summer job, right? And she's getting paid X, Y, and Z, right? Do you let her just take that money and do whatever she wants to do with it? Or do you say, look, we're going to save, because you got to teach her, right? Moderation, right? You save some, spend some, and then you allocate what that is, right? But until she learns that and math becomes practice in that, you don't give her full reign and freedom to demonstrate that degree until she's ready for it. And it's the same thing. Our people are not ready. And it's the thing, like they say, tell the truth and shame the devil. We ain't ready to govern ourselves yet. It hurts, right? If the police were to pull out today, what do you think would happen in our neighborhoods? Anybody seen Purge 4? Election day? Did y'all see that? I just saw it the other day. I don't be current with movies, so I might come with a movie like 20 years later that y'all don't see. I just saw it the other day, right? And it's what it is. They're showing you the demonstration. Islam wars, our people are not ready, but see, our prophet gives us the tools where it's our job. Prophet said it's being solved only as it can, and that's through the connection with the Moorish Divine National Movement. Because who else is going to teach them to operate and reason without their passions? Islam wars? We make decisions based off emotion, not thought. Islam? All right? Moving forward, I just want to Another video, a couple minutes. This is on race, ethnicity, and nationality.
Race, ethnicity, and nationality are three terms that get thrown around a lot, and all too often they're used interchangeably, ignored, or just used incorrectly. But each of these words actually has a very distinct meaning, and I'm going to talk about them today using my favorite candy, jelly beans. Let's start with race. Now, you may have heard someone say, race is a human construct, and that's true. Race is a mode of categorization that's based on physical appearance. So in the case of jelly beans, race is color. Because race is based on appearance, to some degree it's ascribed, meaning that people are assigned into racial categories based on what other people see. Even if somebody could be mistaken for a certain racial category, it can still apply to them. These categories are fluid, and our ideas of racial groupings change all the time. It's also important to remember that a person can have parents with two different racial backgrounds. The population of the world is becoming increasingly mixed. But even a person with multiple races will still ultimately belong to a racial category themselves, whether or not it's the same as their parents. Race is a huge factor in daily life, but it isn't the whole picture. The term race does not capture the complexities of ethnicity. Ethnicity refers to the ethnic group or groups that a person belongs to. It's a part of a person's heritage and ancestry.
Islamors, that's national descent. Islamors?
In the case of jelly beans, ethnicity is like the flavor. Two people who are in the same racial group can still have very different ethnicities. For example, all of these are red, but this one is cinnamon and this one is cherry. Two people in the same racial group can, and often do, have very different backgrounds. It's important to note that there are some groups who are unable to trace their specific ethnic heritage because of things like slavery, assimilation, and genocide. Ethnicity is a huge part of identity formation and development, but it's still not the same as nationality. The word nationality refers to someone's national origin, the country where they hold citizenship. For jelly beans, it's like the bag that a bean comes from. People of the same race or ethnicity can come from all different nations, like the watermelon bean that's in Camo Mix and Kids Mix, or the lemon lime bean that's in all three. And nationality is flexible. If a person immigrates, their nationality can change. People can have dual citizenship or sometimes no citizenship at all. So, now you know. As a quick recap, race is a mode of categorization based on physical appearance, like the color of a jelly bean. Ethnicity is a person's actual ethnic background based on their ancestry, like the flavor of a jelly bean. And nationality is the place where a person holds citizenship, which is like the jelly bean's bag. Now that you know the difference, you can have a much more comprehensive conversation about identity issues.
Islamors? Thoughts? Islamor?
Something that stuck out to me was when the narrator was talking about how the world is becoming increasingly mixed, and how more and more people are being comprised of different racial groups who ultimately still choose, who had to ultimately still fit into a particular racial group. And I know that's something that is real big in our community due to what was called the one drop rule.
That's right. Octoroon, quadroon, yeah.
Your mother,
based on if you had one drop of,
you know, your mother could have been, you know, 1,000% African, you know, and your father could have been a full-blooded European, and they could have bred with nothing but Europeans for 2 generations. But you would still be looked, even though you might phenotypically, you might exhibit some Asiatic features, but you would look, you have light skin, your hair be straight, but you would still be, especially if they know, you would still be considered Negro colored black because of your lineage being of slaves.
Islam. And then that's the work of your boy Blumenbach. You know what I'm saying? You know, to establish those racial categories and trying to force fit people into those categories. You know, relative to the section, you know, Sheikh Rashid just demonstrated earlier, Prophet makes pleas to the nation, just that opening paragraph, he says, our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the Prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts to uplift fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. So even amongst that, there's different, you know, there's different ethnicities within the Asiatic race and nation. Islam Moors? Got brothers and sisters from Jamaica. Take Jamaica. You looked at the Jamaican flag? What does it look like? You ever thought about it? The British flag. Who colonized Jamaica? The British. So they took the Union Jack, which is the British flag, and painted it different colors and called it our flag, but it's based on the British flag, right? So a lot of the coloring of the culture, like, you know, a lot of times we look at our brothers and sisters in respect, right? But we look at our brothers and sisters from Jamaica as having more culture than us. No, they just, because they realized they got colonized, right? They just took and flipped, you know, the complexion of what they were going through, right? To try to preserve something, you know, something. Us here, everything was stripped from us, everything. You weren't allowed anything, right? So, you know, then, you know, like the Europeans said in the first video, we took and, you know, started calling culture slave, you know, things that had slavery trappings, you know, chitlins, bucket of chitlins and cooking that, knowing how to cook that. Or Islam wars, even next month, they're going to demonstrate what they're going to put on our babies. Which is just, see what I'm saying? We got our own month, but what you talk about though? You know, so in that they, being what they know, right? Because that's all they're going to talk about. Islam wars? All right, Islam war?
Islam. You're talking about Jamaica
and real quick, that was respect to all my Jamaican brothers and sisters. So we're not doing that, but Islam.
I was just going to draw a parallel. In my studies, if you will, the Moroccan flag has advanced or matriculated, if you will. A lot of flags look similar to the Moorish flag as well.
Yeah, they went through, you know, again, based on what they were going through.
Exactly.
At one point it was red, just red, nothing on it. You know, another point it was white. You know, another point it was red with a 6-pointed star.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Another point it was this exact flag, but in the upper left field it had a canton, which was, you know, blue field, and it had, you know, French, you know what I'm saying, you know, encumbrances on it. And an encumbrance is anything that's on it that doesn't make it free. Islam wars, because they were a protectorate at that time. So they put the French reflection to show that they weren't free. Islam wars, meanwhile, the Prophet brought us this flag, 1913. Islam. So we were able to fly this here in America when they couldn't fly it over there. So this is not the Moroccan flag. It's what kind of flag is the Moorish? He didn't say what kind of flag is the Moroccan. It's not the Moroccan flag. It's the Moorish flag. Islam wars? All right. In closing, I got like about 2 minutes. I want to draw from What is Islam inside of Moorish literature. Article entitled What is Islam? Because we have to be clear about our divine creed, because our divine creed connects us to our ethnicity, our national descent, right? Because as Moorish American Muslims, we think a certain way, all right? Remember how the Irishman, the Irish Southerner said that, you know, he could say a certain phrase that his 4-year-old would know, all right, and caught the cultural nuances of that. You ever paid attention to how, as Moorish Americans, how many different ways we can make the word Islam mean something different?
Islam.
See? Islam. She's got an A in her book, Islam, or Islamo, or Islamo. You know, one word. And we all understand in the context what it means. Now, you think an outsider can listen to that? And no, we just constituted our own thing. Islam was? That's culture. That's what culture is, right? And when you're an outsider to the party, you're not supposed to get it. Islam wars? All right. See? Islam wars? So, what is Islam? Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties towards God, Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name, Islam, means peace. The goal of man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything. Peace with Allah and peace with man. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy and divine divine prophet Noble Drew Ali says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. Object of man's life, according to Islam, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely within himself to make or mar his fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, and all power. He is perfect and holy, all wisdom, all knowledge, and all truth. These are some of his great attributes so far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us insofar as we see his attributes working for and in us. But he is nevertheless impersonal. Because he is infinite, perfect, and holy, we do not believe that death, decay, or sleep overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helplessly inactive or inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is he begotten, because these are traits of a frail and weak humanity. This unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. Islam Morris? Islam. And that was from the Morris Guide, February 1st, 1929. Islam Morris? Islam. Praise Allah Morris. Islam. Anybody have any thoughts on what we covered tonight? Y'all got to get ready, man. You know, it's a lot. There's a shift taking place in America because, you know, there's a lot of conversations being had by Grand Sheiks around the country right now, and it's all based on what should we collectively call ourselves, right? And that seems simple enough, right? Until you realize, it is not in the possessing of things, but knowing how to use them, right? So we have this, right? But we have to learn how to employ it, and that takes practice. That takes a lot of, just like we talked about last week in Sunday school, where, Articles of Confederation, yeah, they had a lot of law, but they was having problems employing it. A whole bunch of bumping heads, you know what I mean? A lot of frustration, so on and so forth. And we're at the point where we're trying to get that together, right? And it's going to take a while, but we got to keep working at it, right? And we got to keep going back to what the prophet said, right? Because that's the only thing that tethers us to our forefathers. Because if you remove the prophet, we back Negroes again. Islam. We back black men and women again, sounding crazy to the world. Islam? And our holy divine prophet, Noble Drew, they came to redeem us from that. Our babies, my wife and I were just talking earlier, and it was interesting how, we grew up in New Jersey, and in New Jersey, we grew up around a lot of our friends were Moorish Americans. We had no idea, right? Because they was around us, and they knew we didn't have a nationality. They were born Bays and Ills, right? But they was around us, and we didn't have no nationality, and they didn't want to seem out of place, right? Because they born Bays and Ills, attended temple, all the kind of stuff, whatever, but they didn't have a Moorish American community to insulate them from our madness. So they kept it quiet. They dumbed it down while they was around us because they knew we wouldn't be able to relate. So keep in mind, we're all children now, but they were wise enough to know they won't understand. Islam Morris? Now, do we want our children to go through that?
Nay.
They're hearing lessons now. Our young people in here, they're quiet. But I'll tell you something about your children are always listening. Y'all know as parents, children always say something that you don't want heard around the babies. You're going to hear it again. Islam? So my thing is we have to take and establish that, that community, that infrastructure to inoculate our children from the madness that's going on out there. So at least if you raise them in the community, at least they'll be strong enough when they get in their teenage years if they come across something foreign, right? It's like, well, yeah, that ain't really what we do. Well, I'm a Moorish man. We do it like this. Islam Morris? Islam. All right. So with that, I'll go ahead and lower the meeting. Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. 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 Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founded home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the states where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their parts in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Jurali Islam. 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 All praise are due to Allah and the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Jurali Islam. Brother Acting Sheikh Raphael Hakeem Bey demonstrated something earlier. There's a very important point. He said that you must have courage enough for truth, right? And I don't want y'all to like just take like anything that's uttered that came from the prophet. You never to just take it and listen to it like, yeah, the prophet said this, just throw his words around. Every word he spoke was spirit. So there was a vibration behind every word, and he used his words a certain way. You listen to the Moorish elders, a lot of the ones that, the elders that like walk with the prophet. One thing they said about the nature of our prophet, Prophet Noble Jurali said, was one that the prophet never spoke in a tone higher, an octave tone higher than what he needed to speak. He wasn't one to be raising his voice. It wasn't like that, right? So the prophet was very calculated with his speech, to the point there's an oral statement they attribute to him that says, if I tell you that I'm going to do a thing, that means it's already done. So that tells you the type of mind that he has. So he didn't waste words. So if you're reading any of his records or anything, and the prophet says something, pay attention to certain things. Like if the prophet mentions something more than once, what's the one thing in the divine constitution of bylaws he mentions twice? Say. What is one thing that he mentioned in the divine constitution, the Moorish Science Temple of America divine constitution of bylaws, that he mentioned twice? Same thing, he mentioned it 2 times within the 7 acts. Attend your meetings promptly.
It's not.
Right? Because again, this is the way we learn how to deal with our illness. We have an illness. Y'all know that, right? Right? And when you think Robert said what he said? He says, where there's the least appearance of evil, suspect the greatest danger. So to the point where you think you got it under control is when you're about to do something dumb. Islam Moors? So you have to attend your meetings and attend them promptly, because just when you think, oh, I'm more Moorish, no, you're not. Islam? You're about it, because that is that haughtiness. He would say, as humble as thou ought to be. But we're not, we're arrogant. He said, he who is arrogant without power will be servile while there is no subjection. So while no one has their foot on your neck, literally, you know what I'm saying? Like you talk to some of our grandparents, they could tell you about the town, but they literally had a foot on their neck. No one has a literal foot on your neck now, so why isn't the community built? Islam Moors? Because we arrogant without power, right? So as humble as I ought to be, humble out a little bit, and learn how to get behind the prophet. Islam Moors? All right? So I just want to draw for something real quick, and then, we're going to close the prayer. I'm going to get y'all out of here, all right? This is from a book entitled The Holy Covenant, Truth, Perfect Flame. It's called The Angel Unaware by Brother Past Grand Sheikh J. Blakely Bey. And he's demonstrating the principle of truth. So you have to have courage enough for truth, right? He says, truth, this is what the prophet taught him directly. He says, truth is a perfect flame that burns, and that light which shines from its burning lights, lights up the world of darkness. When man gets his big meditation and consultation with his inner self, he should get a suitable answer to his thought of a hard problem or project. As everyone with normal amount of understanding will do at various times of life, one would say he talks to himself, but instead he is conversing with his Father God, which at times will convey to thee the true and correct act to take. You ever talk to yourself? Islam Moors? Right. And see, that's not strange, because you're talking to you, but it's know thyself and Allah. So you're speaking to the ether, but you actuate in the ether, right? So you have to be careful what you say. More so what you think, and then what you speak. Islam? Then he take in deep thought of the condition of his brother man or fellow man, as what measure or degree of happiness will terminate from a 2-party transaction or problem. In the ultimate end, both parties should be satisfied and happy. For the actions have been with thought of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Then there will be a heavenly state of being for all parties concerned. So think about that in contracts and governments, that's right. It says, then he may say that I know that my Father God is pleased with me this day in my actions, for I am happy and the second party is happy. Man must understand that when he would do a good for the Father, he then must do that good deed to humanity, as it had been written and stated that said to man, as you do unto even the least one of these, one of my little ones, meaning the human race, you do unto me, the Father of all creation. And then, man, you must understand that when you work for God, the great God, you are working for humanity, and he should get a feeling of happiness from this work. For that is when the world needs today is a man to work for the betterment of humanity. And when man will realize that to be a fact, that man has a portion of this earth to live in and the pursuit of happiness. And when these acts are not hindered, he then would know that this earth is a paradise or a heaven for man. He may find such a heaven with the ever thought of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, knowing that he is not a hypocrite. Islam Morris? Praise Allah and honors to his prophet, Noble Raleigh. Honors to all those who kept the doors of the Moorish Science Temple of America open. Honors to those elders that when we proclaimed our nationality, we didn't understand the hardline position they took on. If the prophet didn't bring it, they didn't want to hear it. You know, I was one of those Moors that came when I first came in. What? We need to change this. We need to change. You know, and then I started to understand. I get it. Because everything the prophet brought, it was divinely prepared. When you start tampering with that, you tamper with the movement. If you tamper with the movement, you're enslaving your brother again. You're enslaving your sister again. Islam Morris? So while we demonstrate, keep it holy. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's it, Morris. I submit. Islam? All is well. Y'all good?
All is well.
I love you, Morris.
Love you too.
Islam Morris. Everyone please rise. Face the east, which is right ahead of you. Please hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, standing on your square. Raise 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Invoke the sacred presence of 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, evermore to be. Please repeat after me. Allah, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night, and by day, through His holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam, Morris. Praise Allah. Islam.
Allahu Akbar. حي على الصلاة الله أكبر